we can dive into a few common errors that are often done by people when dieting. These things can ruin dieting success, ruining your fitness and health goal success. So pay attention and stick all the way until the end of this, because you do not want to miss any of these things. And I should say before we get into this is that you can do more than these errors. These are just some very common ones that I witness when working and talking with people. The first thing is not tracking their food at all. Not tracking calories or food at all. Now, you don't need to track calories religiously for the rest of your life. But if you don't at least track calories maybe for a couple weeks when you're first starting, or maybe even a month, just to get the hang of it, just to see how many calories and different foods that you are eating with different calories in them, you are seriously shooting yourself in the foot, because so many people, when I talk to them about their diet and they're like, yeah, I just can't gain weight. And I'm like, oh, okay. What's your diet look like? Well, I eat healthy and I blah, blah, blah. It's like people don't know what they're eating. And that's something we need to be self-aware of. What are we eating and what are the calories in them? Prime example, my father, I love him to death. When I was talking to him for the first time about soda, drinking soda, I was like, yeah, I just try to stay away from normal sodas. I usually drink diet. There's 0 calories in them. And he's like, oh, yeah, that sounds good. And I'm like, yeah, look at this nutrition label. He looked at the nutrition label, and it was a regular Coke, like a 20-ounce Coke. He's like, there's 60 to 70 grams of sugar in this? 240 calories in one 20-ounce Coke? And I said, that's why I don't drink them. It's absolutely insane and eye-opening when you look at the calories in liquids, foods, and everything around you. It is absolutely insane, people. Eye-opening. Make sure you're tracking to some degree, having a rough estimate, because another thing that people do, once they start actually tracking, which is great, is then they'll start overestimating or underestimating on their foods. So, for example, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start tracking. That's great. 2,000 calories. That's what I'm supposed to eat in a day. And you just had 3 pieces of pizza, and you're like, oh yeah, it's got protein. It's got a little, it's probably not bad. Maybe like 200 calories for that. That's a huge problem, and that happens all the time, where people will think they're eating so many less calories, but in reality, they are packing on calories. And that usually sets people up for fat loss failure, of course, but weight loss failure on the complete opposite end and opposite spectrum. There's people who overestimate how much they eat. I know a lot of people who are really skinny and they're like, I can't gain weight. I'm like, interesting. Okay, so what's your diet look like? And they'll say, well, I didn't have breakfast. I had like a salad for lunch, and I'm gonna have a sandwich for dinner. Okay, so we're talking 800 calories. Yes, your body doesn't have any energy to gain weight. Okay, so when you're tracking, that's great, but be as precise as you can. It's all an estimate at the end of the day, but try not to overestimate, try not to underestimate. Hold yourself accountable to a standard that is meaningful, and your diet will be clear and good for you. In addition to this, a lot of times people will embrace cheat days way too much. And there's nothing wrong with eating some of your favorite junk foods that you might not normally eat on a diet. But the thing about this is that people will not realize how much of a dent that could put onto their overall dieting goals. So if you're eating really good throughout the week, you're hitting your calorie goals throughout the week, but on the weekend you're like, screw it, it's Saturday, it's football, it's college football, right? We're doing beer, we're doing wings, we're doing everything. You could literally erase that entire week of good dieting in 1 hour. 1 hour. And that's pretty profound. So realizing when you have these cheat days that they're fine to have. You can eat those foods, but it's going to come at the cost of you're going to be inflating your calorie budget quite a bit, which might set you back on your weight loss goals a bit. But maybe you only do this once a year. Maybe it's even something like the Super Bowl. And for you, realizing that, okay, I can set back my diet a little bit and that's totally okay. I know I'll get back onto it. But right now, I just want to enjoy this time with my friends. I want to enjoy some good food. That's totally your right too. Just realize for you, it's your choice and it's going to come at a cost. In addition to that, trying to make your diet absolutely perfect is the best way to make your diet not perfect, because nobody's diet will be perfect. Your circumstances will never be perfect. What you need to be doing is making your circumstances as ideal as they can be for yourself. So if you're somebody who's like, I just need to have all my meals prepped, I need to be able to have this and that, and I just need to control everything, it's never going to be like that. And you're going to be sitting at the light one day, coming home from work, super hungry, and you're like, man, I just can't, I need something to eat. And you're going to go into a gas station and you're going to have to eat something that maybe isn't the best on your diet, but it's close enough to what you would normally have. And it's not perfect, but we're not striving for perfection. We're striving for consistency and trying to be as close to perfect as we can over time. So don't strive for being perfect. Striving for being as perfect as you can in that specific scenario is the best way to do it. Another common dieting error that people will do all the time, and this is usually because the foods we eat are very low in protein, and that's, of course, undereating protein. So many of the foods that are shelf stable are very low in fiber, low in protein, high in carbs and fats. A lot of these prepackaged foods you get at the store. And this is a problem because if you're constantly eating all those foods, you're undereating on protein. And protein is important for, one, if you're trying to gain weight and build muscle and strength, protein is the building blocks to do that. Two, if you're trying to lose weight, protein or your muscle is incredibly useful to help you lose weight because muscle burns calories at rest. So if you are losing muscle by not getting enough protein in your weight loss journey, you are literally saying, okay, I'm going to eat less and I want to lose the muscle or the thing that burns calories at rest. So then I have to eat even more less because I'm not burning more calories at rest, right? It's kind of one of those things. So getting in your protein is super crucial, whether you're gaining weight, maintaining weight, or losing weight. It's all important. Something that people will do too is just straight up sabotage their home. And this can look a lot of different ways, but your environment will greatly dictate your fitness and diet goals. So if you are always buying cookies and cakes, bringing them home, putting them on the center table so it's the first thing you see every single time you walk into your home, that's inviting you to binge on those cookies, cakes, all those delicious things. Versus if you set up your environment where there's some fruit in the corner, you open your fridge and there's lots of lean protein options ready available for you. If there's maybe some good snacks in the cupboard, you have some string cheese or maybe some lower calorie cracker options, and those are very easily available for you. Two completely separate environments that you have the choice to change for yourself, okay? Liquid calories are incredibly dangerous as well for your dieting goals. People don't realize this too. And this is one of the things I was talking to somebody about when it comes to gaining weight, is that you can seriously consume 300 calories in one of those little shakes, right? It's one of those Ensure shakes, and get in those nutrients, get in those calories super easily. A lot of the older adults and older clients I work with that are really skinny and trying to do that, I tell them to pound those because there's not a lot of liquid in them, not a lot of overall substance, but you can ultimately gain so much to your calorie goals just by doing that. So It goes on the flip side too if you're always drinking margaritas and a bunch of alcohol, and if you're consuming lots of Coke products or soft drinks, all these different things, they can seriously inflate your calories so much, but they still count. Just because they're not solid food doesn't mean they're not going to make you gain weight or lose weight. They still count and they still have calories, okay? The other huge problem too involves this idea of the it's just one mentality. And this is an okay mentality to have if you are somebody who's normally consistent with your diet. The problem with this is that the most of the time when people are eating in their diets, they're not conscious of what they're eating. So they're always in the mindset of it's just one, where maybe you'll go to a buffet and there's some donuts on the buffet in the dessert section. You're like, I'm gonna have a donut, it's just one. But then tomorrow you say the same thing. Then tomorrow you say the same thing. And it's a recurring thing. If you're consistently saying it's just one, it is always one, right? And it always is gonna come back to bite you in the end. Versus if you're somebody who normally doesn't take a donut, but today you're like, I'm gonna treat myself. That's totally okay. That's a good frame of mind to be at. And then one of the other things that people will do is they eat too healthy in their diet. This may be shocking when it comes from me that you think of, but eating too healthy can be a big issue because people will think that the healthy food in itself is the reason why they are losing weight. It's not because of the healthy food, it's because the healthy food usually leads them to eating in a calorie deficit. And the calorie deficit, or eating less calories per day than you burn, is what's going to allow you to ultimately lose the weight. Healthy food is a great way to do that, but you can still do it with junk food. And you can still have a little bit of junk food, a little bit of ice cream, a little bit of cookies in your diet every single day, as long as you are in a calorie deficit. And on the flip side too, if you're trying to gain weight, you can eat healthy food, right? You don't need to just eat a bunch of junk food. You just need to beware of your overall calorie budget and your calorie goals. That will set you up for long-term success for the rest of your dieting career. So go ahead, if you haven't already, like the video and subscribe to the channel. We help individuals of all abilities improve their overall health and knowledge of the gym